Hello, I'm Lucy from Bookshanks and I'm here today with a bit of a wrap video, a bit of a TBR to have a chat about what I read in May and let you know what I'm planning to read in June. So I hope that you guys have had a good reading month. I think mine's been all right. Yeah, it's not a bad one, not like absolutely spectacular. But yeah, on the whole, definitely not a bad one. If you've got any highlights from your reading month, I'd love to know what they are, or if you've read any of the ones that I'm chatting about as well, do shout. But actually, what I really would like to know about, what you can be thinking about while I tell you what I read in the past, is what I should be reading in the future. Because I've got a couple of books on my radar, on my list of things that I want to read in June, but actually, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm kind of scouting around a little bit at the moment and not finding an enormous amount of well, there's not really any huge name releases out there at the moment, are there? Unless I'm missing them. But I don't know, it seems to be quite quiet in general. Is this just me? So if you know of anything coming up that you think I'll like, or that you are definitely going to read and want to chat about, then let me know, because I have capacity. I've got capacity. I'll let you know what's already on the list. But yeah, I'm up for some recommendations, please and thanks. So, where should I start? Do you know what? I'm going to start with actually what I'm currently reading. And there's a reason for this. I shall explain to you. So I'm currently reading Kings of a Dead World by Jamie Mollart. And this is a dystopian fiction book, which I'll tell you a little bit about in a sec. I'm not that far into it, you'll see. But the reason that I'm reading this one is because I've been invited very kindly to speak at a literary festival at the end of this week. The festival is on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's the Chimera Festival in Edinburgh, and it's all about sci-fi and fantasy and fiction, obviously fiction, dystopian fiction, and a bit of horror and all that kind of ballpark. It's in Edinburgh. But it's also available online. So if you fancy that kind of thing, wherever you are in the world, you can still watch it. I'll drop the details down below. But I'm speaking on a panel with Jamie Mollart. So it made sense. I checked out what it was all about. So we're both dystopian authors, or, we're talking about dystopian novels. And this one is sort of, I think, kind of a climate changey type of one. As I said, I'm not super far into it, but it's so cinematic already. It's definitely crying out to be made into a film. It is set in a world of the not too distant future where resource scarcity across the board has driven the world leaders to put quite a lot of people to sleep. So we're from the perspective at the moment of Ben, who is 80 something, and he's been asleep for a long time, and he's just been woken up, and it's his turn basically to go and get his little bit of, food and life to sustain him before the next big sleep. And the bit that I'm enjoying so far is the relationship between him and his wife. There's this fiercely protective love story, I guess, that's sort of coming into the fore about how the things that he's going to do to protect his wife. And then the other character that we're looking at is sort of on the other side, sort of part of the people who keep the other people asleep, I guess. And I'm interested to see how it plays out. But yeah, just started that one. And so far it's exciting. Yeah, it's a good one. I'm looking forward to chatting with him at the festival. So I'll drop the details down below. And if you're in Edinburgh or just near a computer, it might be nice to see you there. So, current read. My previous read, I haven't done a review for, but if anyone really wants one, I can do. It's Hex by Jenni Fagan. It's tiny. It's a little tiny teeny thing, which is why I haven't done a review for it. But it packs a punch. Goodness me, it packs a punch. So, it is set in, I'm going to say, 1591, and it is the story of Gellis Duncan, who was a real person. This is fiction, but she was a real life person who was executed for being a witch. Now, this book is entirely set the night before her death. and she is visited sort of through the ages via seance and other means by Iris from 2021, and they sort of spend her last night together talking and bonding and making this friendship, and it's really, really emotional and beautifully written and totally lyrical, but it's looking fundamentally at sort of how the similarities, it's like drawing parallels, I guess, between like how women were treated during like the witch trials of sort of years gone by, and sort of now, like it's a little bit Me Too as well. And yeah, just like intensely feminist, looking at the parallels between how far we may or may not have moved between how women were treated in the past and how women were treated today. And it's really good. I liked it. It was a very powerful little read. You know, it's just a couple of hours, but definitely worth picking up. The other ones I've reviewed, so I'll whiz through them a little bit quicker. Totally, completely and utterly different. The Island by Adrian McKinty, a thriller set in Australia, where a family with a lot of conflict going on go on this holiday to try and sort of, you know, find themselves as a family, accidentally hit a woman, get stuck on an island of people, hit a woman in a car, that's the end of her, get stuck on an island where they hit her with a load of people who are not going to let them off. Super fast paced, super easy read, not as good as The Chain that he wrote a few years ago, but you know, worth picking up if you're willing to suspend your disbelief in certain areas. This one, Sea of Tranquility, Emily St. John Mandel. This was probably my favourite read of the month. I liked this one a lot. It skips over the course of like 500 years. It looks at like the nature of reality, you know, nice big theme, follows lots of different characters, trying to unravel a mystery about, yeah, I guess like the nature of reality, the passage of time, and all sorts of gigantic themes. But because it's St. John Mandel, it's done in like a gentle way, but a very powerful way. And I liked this one a lot. Not completely without reservation. And I reckon if you'd read The Glass House, I say in the review, there's like some crossover between characters that I hadn't read The Glass House, and I was like, what's the point of that? But I think if you'd read The Glass House, which is a completely standalone novel, you might like that one more, or you might get that bit a little bit more than me. But anyway, probably my favourite read of the month. It was a good one. Am I whizzing through these a bit fast? I don't know. There's reviews. So, The Book of Night by Holly Black was the other one that I read this month. There's been a bit, you know, I've gone for diversity this month, haven't I? There's like, we've gone on a bit of a journey, spectrum-wise, in terms of what I've read. This is a fantasy novel-ish. Yeah, no, it is a fantasy novel, isn't it? And it's written by the like wildly successful YA author, but this is her first adult fiction book. I always get a bit nervous saying adult fiction because I think people will think adult fiction, but it's not. It's fiction for adults, about shadows. So in a world where people's shadows can come to life and influence emotions and do all sorts of crazy things and garner power for the people who have these alive shadows. And it's a mystery story as well. It's got an absolutely brilliant heroine. Like, the central character is a cracker. She is very, very good. And she was the heart and soul of this novel, which was a good read. It's not bad. I liked it. It was entertaining. And that was my reading month. That is what I read. Do you know what? That doesn't seem like that much, does it? Anyway, that's what I read. I'm just wondering whether I missed something. I don't know. Anyway, I've got a few books planned that I want to read. A couple of maybes. Darn it, one of which, the name's forgotten. I might have to run over to my piece of paper over there. Bother. I'll talk about those ones in a minute. But I'll tell you what I definitely am going to read. And then you can tell me what you're going to read and whether I should read it too. That would be lovely. The first one I'm going to read, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. it's been around a lot. So, and I'm not like straight out the blocks on this one. So I reckon quite a few of you may possibly have read it. Is it worth it? Did you like it? I'd really love to know. Look, came ripped. Not happy about that. But can we take a moment? God, that is a good looking book, isn't it? Oh my goodness me. I'm going to be totally shallow. It makes a difference. It makes a difference to how much I want to read this book because it's got a pretty jacket. But it's set in the 1960s, I believe. And it follows a woman who was quite an accomplished scientist. I think my understanding is she ended up accidentally pregnant or somehow ended up as a single mother, and as a result is no longer a scientist. Somehow Jenni becomes a celebrity chef, but the way in which she does it causes like a bit of a feminist revolution in 1960s America. And yeah, it just sounded really good. It sounded good. I liked it. It sounded fun, like an uplifting, and I kind of think that's what I'm up for. I had quite a dark month actually, didn't I? I say they didn't have anything in common, but they were all pretty dark. But this month I'm going for a little bit of uplifting. Well, in the form of that book anyway, because the next one actually I don't think is going to be uplifting at all. Oh, there's just a pile of books here now. Right, this one, look, The Pharmacist by Rachelle Atalla. I believe this is a debut novel, and I haven't seen it many places, but I was having a little browse for what I fancied, and I read the synopsis and I was just like, oh, that sounds good. It was out, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. So if anyone's read it or even heard of it, I'd love to know. It sounds really good. Dark though. It's a dark one. Didn't go far, did I? It's a dystopian novel. What I understand is something has happened, something catastrophic and enormous. I don't know if it's war or, a climate disaster, or I don't know what happened, but a group of survivors are in a bunker, and our main character has become the pharmacist for this bunker. And, things initially seem to be going well, but she becomes under more and more pressure from the leaders of this sort of like underground bunker community. And it sounds like how far she will go, I think it's a she, to survive. And it just sounds good, doesn't it? I'm excited. I'm looking forward to reading that one a lot. Don't let me down, Pharmacist. You sound good. Right, the other one that I'm going to read is a non-fiction one, and I don't generally, oh, my pile's going to topple over. I don't generally go for non-fiction that often, but Scott has twisted my arm into reading this one. We Are Bellingcat by Eliot Higgins. Now, Bellingcat are an organisation who use open source information. So from like all sorts of, across social media and like the news and all open source stuff to solve, I didn't say crimes, but it's not that narrow, to like investigate stuff. So I know that they're doing loads of stuff in Ukraine at the moment, like looking at information on Twitter and Reddit to sort of like piece together whether there's war crimes going on. They did loads of detective work around that missing plane, MH370, you know the one I mean, the one that just completely disappeared off the radar. They did loads around that. And yeah, they use open source information to do like insane but really valuable detective work. And Scott read it and he was like, that is a good book and you would love it because it reads like a thriller. Oh look, reads like a thriller. I'm very much on brief. So I'm going to try it, even though I'm not the biggest non-fiction fan. He has assured me that it's worth doing. Now, the other two books that are on my radar, I still can't remember the name of it. God, right, I'll tell you the one I can. So, The Sea Women by Chloe Timms is a debut that I know is coming out sometime in June, can't remember the date, which is set on an island and looks at sort of like folklore, like a mystery set around folklore, and it sounds really good. And the cover is just spectacular. It's like this mermaid shaped like an island, and it's just, yeah, I'm seeing it a lot of places and it sounds quite good. I think it's like at the literary end of the spectrum, but But yeah, it sounds good. I'm so tempted to run over there to my piece of paper, but I'm not going to do it. So the author is Emma Straub. Tell me what the novel is called. It is about a woman after the death of her father, I believe. I'm just making this up now, aren't I? I read the synopsis and I was like, that sounds good. Maybe I'll read that one. And maybe the fact I've forgotten it means it wasn't that exciting. Don't know. Do you know what novel I'm talking about? Do you know? Can't remember. So I'm going to carry on making this up as I go. Death of her father forces her to like reassess, look back through her life. Does she wake up 16 years old? Something like that? Is it like 13 going on 30? Don't know. But it sounded, I've made it sound absolutely terrible, but it actually sounded quite uplifting and quite affirming. And yeah, I'm now talking about a book that I don't even know what it is. So please tell me what book I'm talking about. And also, yeah, fill in the gaps for me. Fill in the June gaps, please, with the books that I should be reading. There's a couple on my radar, like longer term. Like there's a Jessie Burton one out in July, isn't there? That's like prequel to The Miniaturist, which I'm super excited about. And there's a Stephen King one in September. There's a couple in August that I'm like, yeah. Fancy that one. Carrie Soto's back. I'm definitely looking forward to reading that. But yeah, there seems to be a little lull in proceedings publishing, or maybe I'm just not looking in the right places. So I'd love to know what you think I should read in June. Please and thank you. I'm on a creaky chair, sorry. But yeah, hope you've had a good month. Have you read any of these? Are you gonna? What have you read? Hopefully lots and lots of good stuff. And I hope you have a lovely, lovely June as well. I'll be back once I've decided which book I'm going to read first. Lessons in Chemistry, The Pharmacist. You know, could be either. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.